Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson. Great to see you all again. Today, we are going to be talking with the CEO of a company called Medlab. Dr. Sean Hall is the CEO of Medlab, and the ASX code is MDC. We're going to be talking about medicine. We're going to be talking about delivery platforms. We're going to be talking about all things biotech. This is a biotech play, been flying a little bit under the radar, so we're going to get stuck right in. Sean, great to see you. Welcome to Small Caps.
Thank you so much for having me, Kerry. Happy to be here.
Well, listen, I think this is a very interesting company. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know, the website is, because I couldn't find it straight away, so I'm just going to let you all know. It's medlab, medlab.co. Don't put the M at the end. It's medlab.co. Now that I've got that out of the way, because I couldn't find it straight away. So,
a lot of people confuse us for Medlab pathology. Not pathology, biotech. CO is right.
Yeah, so medlab.co, which is a biotech company, not the pathology company. Now, let's talk about, first of all, what's your background, Sean?
Australian born, schooled overseas, medicine and business underneath me. Been around biotech, medicines and nutraceuticals most of my life. The odd thing is, you know, when I was younger, I think I wanted to be Indiana Jones and become an archaeologist. it was my father, believe it or not, and my father is a mix. He's been in life sciences or healthcare most of his life, but his early days, he was an angel, as in an investor. And he, at a ripe young age of 15, you know, shipped me off to the US and said, you're going to have an interview with the Dean of Medicine at UCLA. Right? Kind of the wrong thing to do with a 15-year-old, because I'm thinking Hollywood's around the corner, movies, bright light. Anyway, that's a story for a different day. But it's just kind of funny how you'll start with something, and as kids, you'll change your career path a number of times.
Yeah,
I've kind of followed traditionally what the family business has been: healthcare, food, medicine, improvement to life, bettering life. And here we are today in Medlab. And I think all those tenets are very true.
So you're following the passion, which started off from a young age. And, you know, let's just talk about Medlab, if you wouldn't mind, because Medlab listed in 2015. And so that's 6 years ago. You've come quite a long way. First up, because this is the first time that we've had a chat on Small Caps. First up, just tell us a little bit about Medlab and how it began.
A number of people will know that my family used to own a company called Bioceuticals. 2012, we sold Bioceuticals, which at the time was Australia's most known and largest medically prescribed or recommended nutraceutical company. We sold it to Blackmores. I'd need to check the numbers, but it was around about $43 million. That happened for a number of reasons. The big one is I lost my brother to cancer. And without getting into the grueling details, what I saw in that is everything I thought I knew, pardon the expression, was utter bullshit. Right? You know,
everything you thought you knew about what?
Cancer.
So everything that you thought you knew about cancer was, in your quote, utter bullshit. Why?
Because right here, right now, I was with a family member, my only brother. Right? It was hard pressed in my face. And whilst he'd have good days, you know, in the last 2 years of his life, there was no good days. It was heavy seizures. It was pain, eating, not eating, irrationality, everything I was taught, everything I thought I knew to be true in relation to cancer care, pain management, it went out the door. That thick skin that we are taught to guard ourselves behind in dealing with patients was just wrong, you know. And in the case of Alex, whilst I was financed enough, I toured the world looking for whatever that widget, whatever that medicine was going to be that could give him a breath of fresh air, that could buy him another year. And I wasn't frontline to Alex's therapy. I was far too emotionally involved. And be perfectly honest, I was too naive, right? And there are some wonderful people at Royal North Shore Hospital who even today absolutely adore for all their efforts that they did for Alex. At the end of the day, Alex lost his battle, but always had me thinking that in this area of medicine, there has to be a better way, and I can remember being at school in my last year of med, and one of my professors told me, he said, when you walk out these doors and you graduate, you're in tasked with the job of doing better. And so here we are with Medlab today. We've got several different programs underway. Most people know us for the NanaBis program, which is the cancer pain program. We're trying to do better, right? We have different things that we're trying to achieve. And I think over the past 6 years, from a biopharma point of view, we've moved leaps and bounds. If you or if any of your viewers have any exposure to biotech or to pharma world, they probably have in their idea, oh my God, to get a new drug, it's 10, 12, 14 years.
Yeah.
We're going to do this in a fraction of the time. The goals that the company has said they're going to do and the company has met, right? From a progression point of view, from a medical evidence point of view, have been outstanding. We have 50-something dynamic people that work between Sydney, US, and the UK. And at the end of the day, they are so culturally aligned to the fact that we're going to make this medicine better. We're going to improve patients' lives. We're going to do this ethically, right? And we're going to do this in the quickest possible time. I think we've been delivering very successfully on that front.
When you're talking about what you're delivering, is that pain management? Forget like Medlabs. What's the focus? Medlab, okay. I should say, ladies and gentlemen, it's Medlab. I keep putting an S on the end. It's Medlab. Sorry, Sean.
That's all right. No, that's fine. You're not the only one that does that. Our focus, first and foremost, is to use delivery platforms to significantly improve or enhance or make safer a medicine. So when we come to NanaBis, most people will know NanaBis as a cannabinoid, CBD, THC. That's good and bad because some people will immediately slot us into that whole pot stock silo, which is not who we are, what we do, right? But we can improve precision, accuracy, and safety profiles so much that with the use of the delivery platform, which really is the secret sauce, the key ingredient, if you would, and we're tracking today 805 patients, and we're talking under clinical review, under ethics approved studies, right? So we've got big data. And in some cases, we're tracking them out 12 months. I can sit here and safely say NanaBis is a very viable alternative to opioid use.
Oh my goodness, how wonderful.
That's what we're trying to change, right?
Okay.
And look, I don't want to sit here and bang on opioids. Everyone understands, oh shit, big problem, right?
Yeah.
The prediction I'm going to make is when the dust settles on COVID and we get some normality back in our life, that big problem here, bigger problem here.
Massive problem. I so agree with you, Sean. I think that we haven't even seen the start of the opioid issue. No. So what you're saying is NanaBis can take, sorry?
NanaBis.
NanaBis.
Thank you.
See, I'm getting them all wrong today, ladies and gentlemen.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
But we're having fun. So NanaBis can take people away from that addiction to an opioid drug. Is that what you said?
So, well, hang on. You put a lot of things in that. Let me just talk a little bit. Let's talk about ethical use as opposed to opioids being used as a drug of addiction, right?
Okay, yep.
Here and now, opioids work very well for pain control, right? Pure and simple, right? You go to hospital, you have therapy, you might be in ICU, you're going to get opioids. At the end of the day, you're going to get back on your feet, you're going to move around, right? And your body is going to repair quicker than what it did several years ago, right? That legacy has been really good. And that innovation curve in medicine has been really good. But we've become too reliant on opioids. I like to remind people that opioids, first and foremost, are an approved medicine. And in the hands of qualified doctors, right, they can be life-saving because they enable us to do a number of things that we could not normally do. But in the wrong hands, in misuse, we get the problem. And that problem leads to substance abuse, it leads to organ failure and so forth. What we need to do is backtrack a little bit. If I look at opioids for the past 3 decades, so we're talking 30 plus years, there hasn't been a lot of innovation in what's called analgesic care, i.e. pain meds.
Okay.
Right? So we have created something we call NanaBis. It is uniquely different to any cannabinoid that's out there, that we can demonstrate across a wide berth of patients. We can do two things. We can control pain and improve quality of life in those patients, sleep, appetite, mobility. At the same time, we can reduce their reliance on ethically prescribed prescription opioids over a relatively short period of time. So that loose translation, you take less opioids, safety. I reduce your risk on toxicity, organ toxicity.
Right.
Right?
That makes sense.
I reduce your risk, if I'm to use a more common vernacular, of getting hooked.
What is unique about this particular whatever you want to call it, NanaBis? What's unique? Because you mentioned that it's unique. It's unlike others.
Pardon me. Even if we move aside the amount of data we have from patients under ethics controlled studies and government approved studies, we have this delivery platform, which is the core of most of the things that we do. That delivery platform gives us a precision, a quality, and a delivery mechanism for this medicine that we can control. The beauty about this delivery platform is, for those that are following us, they're going to see that the patent approvals are starting to come through.
Okay.
You know, what was it, last month, the month before, we had Australia as the first global jurisdiction approve protection to 2036. I think it was last week, maybe it was the week before, we just announced that Europe has patent protected.
Oh,
right?
Wow. Okay.
So when dealing with medicines, we have to deal with something called precision and accuracy. I mean, you need the medicine to be exactly what it is, no little wiggle room for other things to come into it. And when it's applied, how it's applied, the route it takes in your body and how that medicine is delivered, and ultimately how that medicine comes out of your body,
Yep.
right, has to be precisely recorded. So we can give very, very small amounts. We can get it into the body extremely quick. So the analogy I'll use is this. Most people know that a medicine is something that they swallow.
Yep.
The moment you swallow, it goes here, it goes all the way down into your gut, right? That process for that medicine to become, let's call it active, right? Get metabolized, to have some benefit, some feeling, right? Is 45 minutes and out, right? Because it takes up to that period of time to digest something in someone's stomach that is 101% optimal and functioning.
Okay. So we're taking a tablet, goes into the gut, takes between 45 minutes and an hour for it to take effect.
Now, everything you do down here is designed to spoil, degrade, ruin, use whatever words you want, anything you swallow. So as a general rule of thumb, if I'm to give you a 100 milligram tablet and everything about you is working 101%, my general rule of thumb is you will absorb 10% of that.
What? 10? I would have said 30, 40, what, 10%? So
if I want you 40 to 50, right, I will give you an intramuscular injection.
Wow.
Okay.
But that's even intramuscular injection is only 40 to 50.
It's more like 50, but yeah, it's just for circa numbers, we're sort of fitting there.
Okay.
I can give you a significantly less amount of a substance. So think that pill, 100 milligrams, you're getting 10, right?
Got it.
And I can put that via your cheek cavity inside. And I can get that across that membrane and into your bloodstream in a matter of minutes. And I can get it to become what we would refer to as systemic throughout your body. So it's in your blood, it's moving freely through your body. None of this swallow it.
And is this part of your patented
Correct.
delivery platform?
Correct.
Oh, wow. So Wow.
We're talking patient convenience in use, speed, no choking hazards, a very different safety profile, smaller amounts of medicine, so less wastage, less things that your gut has to work on, has to digest, has to excrete.
Sean, you know what? Sorry to interrupt you, but a little story. My dad, who was in his 90s, he's passed away now, but one night he was sitting up, he took his 2 Panadol, and I'm holding him up, and then it was silence. And what had happened was he choked on the Panadol.
Mm-hmm.
We almost lost him that night. So I'm thinking, and it was very traumatic for me. And
Yep.
I'm thinking, I can still see it now, and it's quite, so I understand the pain from Alex, the story as well. But I'm thinking this has massive application in aged care.
Does, and in pediatrics, same reason.
Yeah, for babies.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not areas that we're studying for the new medicines at the moment. Our goal, everything the Medlab does is design the medicine, de-risk the medicine, prime it for ethical market approval, so i.e. FDA approval or TGA approval, or in Europe, the EMA approval. But at that point, we've got to hand it over via partnering to one of the big players that have all those logistics and services and so forth, and they're already expensed to take a drug out to market.
Okay.
We don't want to recreate that. Could you imagine that? Hi, guys, I want to raise a couple of $100 million so that we can build warehouses and I can have 1,000 salespeople. And right, that's not us.
Okay.
Our job, like a traditional.
But in that partnering agreement, I'm assuming that there will be, because I'm looking at from an investor point of view, I'm a shareholder of Medlab. Well, I'm not yet. But if I'm a shareholder of Medlab, you're going to be doing these partnering agreements. There's going to be revenue from those partnering agreements. You're going to set it up so that there's plenty of revenue coming back to you guys as the holder of the patent.
So let's fast track to right now.
Yeah.
We have a number of partnering conversations. They're all pretty much early, some a bit more advanced than others, with a couple here in Australia, more EU5 and US companies, big companies, right? Fit for purpose companies. Because our assets are getting to a point where they're becoming a lot less risky and really interesting. So, looking forward, I'd like to believe, I think my leadership team is 100% with me on that before 2021 is out, we should have a meaningful partnering agreement in place. And these are revenue producing partnering agreements that we're looking for, right?
That makes it interesting.
Yeah, it does, right? So we, on one hand, we progress the drug, we de-risk the drug, we build that evidence that a pharma marketing company can take to market and they can prosecute as they will with all the benefits of, their budgets and their people and their distribution mechanisms that they have, right?
Yeah.
We are now at a point now that several of our assets are in that space where they become real interesting really quick. And with patents are being granted, and these are global patents, more and more publications in medical side journals coming out on us that regulatory departments like TGA or FDA or EMA read, and also M&A people from pharma companies read. We've gone from a lot of people don't know us to in industry. These guys have something, and the partnering conversations we have today, I think, are evident of that.
Oh, I just had one, when you have one of those light bulb moments when you were talking about the delivery platform and how, instead of getting a tablet, swallowing it 10%, I never knew. Who knew? Ladies and gentlemen, who knew 10% goes into your gut, which is just ridiculous. And you're saying you can deliver a smaller amount faster. I mean, it sounds pretty damn interesting. But I've got a question for you. You mentioned before that you've got operations here in Australia, you're based in Australia, but also the USA and UK. And from an investor's point of view, I'm thinking, why do you need to have USA and UK expense at this point in time?
Right. Good question. Just to deep dive a little bit. Let me go down the rabbit hole just so much.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. As I said, NanaBis is late stage. So we are preparing now for global phase 3 trials.
Okay.
Right? All being well, this is the last big trial we have to do before we John Hancock those documents that say, dear Mr. TGA, dear Mr. FDA, we want to register a drug. Those trials are happening in Australia, US, UK, right? Our trials, our shareholders' money, they need to be cared for. We need boots on the ground. So in the US, we have we've always had an organic chemistry team.
Yeah.
They're technical people that solve very technical problems in formulatory design. We now have a clinical team. So very specific pharmacists and nurses that are working with hospital units to onboard NanaBis for the phase 3 trials. And they do US and UK. In the UK, we have recently brought on from the pharma industry our own boots on the ground business development manager with pharma experience, with a pharma network to help us now manage those partnering deals, because most of them are coming out of EU5 anyway. So he's in London. We have trial sites in London, but his job is to work with those pharma units. And you can imagine they're rather complex cell environments, right?
Oh, I don't even want to start that one.
To quote unquote, we needed our own pit bull.
Got it.
London worked well because when we look at the conversations we're having, they're bouncing from Chicago to Zurich.
Nice in between. Yeah.
Nice. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so what I would like to find out, I mean, it's as I said before, ladies and gentlemen, it's been flying straight a little bit under the radar. So you heard it here first on Small Caps. Sean, you're the largest shareholder in the company. So I think that's really important. I've often said to our listeners, our subscribers out there that, have a look at management. If they're not putting their hard-earned money in, why should you? Well, let me tell you, Sean's the largest shareholder in Medlab. So that kind of gives you a good understanding of how, I guess, confident he is about where this is going to go. What I want to finish up with, though, Sean, is this. What would you say to investors that are listening to you right now about Medlab? Because we've given them the overview. They understand where you're going with NanaBis and the delivery platform. I think we've made it clear you're not a cannabis company. You're a biotech company, which is going to be delivering different drugs out to the market. What would you say to our investors right now as to why you think now is a really good time to sit up and take notice of Medlab?
Really good question. I'd probably go with this. I think in our last 6 years, we've accomplished a lot. And I think for at least one of those assets, NanaBis, we are at that critical junction where she could really turn the company into something very, very, very exciting and unique. I mean, it could be a significant inflection point for the company. And that could happen because of a partnering agreement. It could happen because, P3 loads very well, trial data is very well. But the onset is even in the trials. We're not talking elaborate, very long trials in order to get us to our goal, right? Beyond that, the NanoCelle platform is really what's got potential partners talking to us about. So if you believe for a second that, okay, there's this Aussie biotech, it's got something unique, it's obviously got market protection because patent offices are issuing these certificates, where do you see us in 12 months? If you look at our history, we have moved leaps and bounds on the progression of the company and forwarding our assets. From my point of view, I am the largest shareholder. I believe what's coming this year, what's coming next year, from my perspective, is well worth the wait, right? And I think moving forward, we're going to start seeing more of Medlab on the global circuit beyond your traditional med-sci type people, which is where we've had to invest to prove ownership, authenticity, and more the point, validation that we're not a one-trick pony, right? And we're not selling foo-foo dust, right? So, I think, from a shareholder point of view, look at what we do offshore, right? We've got to get a lot more centric with our shareholders here. I'd love to see that we do more of this. And I'm open to any shareholder that wants a conversation. That's neither here nor there. But I think we're at a significant inflection point. From a company point of view, we are genuinely very excited. We feel like we're at a breaking point where one right move, small move in the right direction turns this company into something a lot bigger than what we thought.
I love your passion, Dr. Sean Hall. I really do. And I know that this is also personal. I appreciate you sharing about your brother, Alex, because I know that that is very, very close to your heart. That this is an ethical company. You're honoring his memory, but you're also helping people in the pain management in the future. And I think that that is very commendable. And I really appreciate your time talking to us on Small Caps today. Ladies and gentlemen, go to medlab.co. Take off the M, as I said before. ASX code is MDC, and we look forward to talking to you again. But congratulations on all the work that you've done so far, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Gary, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you. Cheers.